Hey Harry Potter fans, Peter Kenneth here. Welcome to the Potter Collector channel, where we are a community of collectors. Today's video is a little bit different from past videos, and not an unboxing, not a Universal Studios tour video, but it's kind of a rare Harry Potter book education about a specific book slash a warning of what to look out for when it comes to a specific book that might come back to market. I want to make sure as many eyes see this particular item so that if it pops up, you don't get tricked. Now, as the title states, this video is about a $12,000 fake book. Now, it's partially a fake book. There are authentic aspects of it, and I'll explain all of that as we get into the video. But before we talk about the specific book, I want to give you some background about the book, or the type of book that we're going to be talking about. And it's a copy of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. This is not the fake copy. This is an authentic version in my collection. But when it comes to the rare Harry Potter book collecting world, most rare Harry Potter book collectors know the name Strath Blane School, or a Strath Blane signed copy of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Back in 1997, before J.K. Rowling was a household name, she visited a school, the Strath Blane School, specifically the 6th grade class, and read from her book, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. At the end of the reading, all the students received a signed copy. What's fun about this story is the students had already heard Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone before it had been published, because their teacher had acquired an uncorrected proof of the book and read it to them in the class. So they were thrilled to get to meet J.K. Rowling and hear her voice. And I'm gonna read a little excerpt from a newspaper article. Alistair, who owned this copy, who I purchased this copy from, he says, "I don't really think our primary 6 class from the small village in Stirlingshire knew just how lucky we were to meet J.K. Rowling long before she became a household name. It was just around the time when the first book was published. Our teacher had gotten a hold of a proof. We read sections in class and used it for a project, so we were all mad about Harry Potter before the books even hit the shelves. Having not met an author before, I didn't know what to expect, but J.K. Rowling was lovely. I remember being entranced by the expression in her voice as she read to us. You could tell from the way that she answered our questions that she knew the characters inside and out. We'd taken along our paintings and our poems based on the book, and she seemed to be genuinely delighted by them. At the end of the session, we were each given signed copies of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, which made us feel special." So specifically, the book Alistair is talking about is this one right here. Now, we don't know exactly how many Strath Blane signed books there are out there, or even left. Were there 20 students in the class? Were there 50 in the class, 30 in the class? So somewhere in that range, I would guess. But the thing to look for with a Strath Blane signed book is you have to have this stamp on the inside of the front and the back cover, which says Strath Blane School. Kind of like a library stamp almost. All of the Strath Blane signed books are going to be 1997 signatures, because that's when the books were signed. And they are signed in this color ink. Look at that thing, isn't that a beautiful early signature? And the other thing about Strath Blane signed books is, at least from what we know, all of them were signed in 5th printing copies of Philosopher's Stone. So see that number line there where it goes from 10 to 5? The low number, 5, tells us this is a 5th printing. If it went from 10 to 1, the 1 would tell us that it was a first printing, 10 to 2, a second printing, 10 to 3, a third printing, etc. So those are the things you want to look for when it comes to a Strath Blane signed book. 5th printing, the Strath Blane School stamp on the front and the back cover, and of course that magical green ink 1997 signature. So these are crazy, crazy rare books. I knew of 3 copies that were in the hands of collectors. And that number 3 is actually a different number now, but I'll explain as I tell the story. So now let me get into the story of the fake $12,000 book. I had decided to sell my copy because I have 2 1997 signatures in my collection and thought, I don't really need to have 2. So this of the 2 is the one that I decided to let go. So I had offered it to a collector who had been offered another one, but that deal fell through. And then we were talking about a deal for this one, but then the other one became available again. So the collector purchased that one. So he had purchased a Strath Blane signed book with a gorgeous signature in it. Absolutely beautiful signature, probably nicer than the signature that's in here. Like a perfect example of a 1997 signature. And it was in a 3rd printing copy of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Now, we know that all the Strath Blane signed books were in 5th printing copies, or at least we thought. So when he brought this to my attention, I thought, okay, that's odd. I thought they were all 5th printing copies, but then thought, maybe there are some 3rd printings that were mixed in with the 5th printing stack. And that still could be true because there have been so few examples that we know of, but it's not true for the one that I'm talking about here, the $12,000 fake. So this collector had purchased the book. It was on his way. He was so excited. I was excited for him. It was a dream that he would add a 1997 signature to his collection. Fast forward a couple days, I get a message from another collector who is a friend with the collector who purchased that 3rd printing signed copy and was referred to me to possibly purchase this one for their collection. After a day or so of negotiation, we came to an agreement, and this book was going to go to their collection. Fast forward a couple of days, they had to drop out of the sale. Fast forward another couple of days, another collector came to mind who I knew would love this book. So I was thinking about what price I could offer to them, and then thought about how, okay, so this collector paid just about $12,000 for their 3rd printing, but mine's a 5th printing. So I should charge a little bit less because it's a later printing, even though when it comes to rarity, it's just as rare as the 3rd printing because they were all signed at the same time. And then all of a sudden, a light bulb went off in my head, and I recognized the signature that was in that 3rd printing book. I knew I had seen it somewhere. And boom, the light bulb went off and I remembered. That book sold in 2009, I believe, a 5th printing copy of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Fast forward to 2015, that same signature was suddenly in a 1st printing copy of Philosopher's Stone. So this seller who purchased the book as a 5th printing through someone else, but that's kind of irrelevant information, took the signature page out and plopped it into a 1st printing book to make that 1st printing super rare, a 1997 signed 1st printing. Removed the wrappers that had the Strath Blane stamp in it, took the signature out of the 5th printing book and plopped it into a 1st printing. So I read this whole conversation that I had had with this seller, and thankfully had a photo of the signature inside of the original wrappers showing the Strath Blane stamp in the photo itself. So I did a side-by-side comparison. This is the signature that you purchased back in '09, and this is the signature that you are now trying to sell as a 1st printing. A perfect match. There was a lot of, oh, this must have happened, or oh, someone must have taken the signature page out without my permission, a bunch of kind of nonsense. And in my email correspondence, I really pushed back and wanted to make sure that this book would be pulled and not sold as a 1st printing signed book. It was removed from auction. My thought was, okay, well, there's nothing I can do about it. This person can sell it privately, and the best that can happen is it'll show up again, and I can tell the buyer, hey, this signature isn't true to the book. You may want to get your money back. Fast forward to 2024. Light bulb goes off in my head. I recognize the signature. The signature page is now in a 3rd printing of Philosopher's Stone. So it started in a 5th printing, which is true for all Strath Blane signed books that we know of, then was put into a 1st printing book, then taken off of the market because this seller had been caught, and then they plopped it into a 3rd printing book. It's possible that they forgot what printing they took the signature page out of and put it into a 3rd printing. I'm not quite sure, but with the email proof that I had, I immediately told this collector, hey, this is not an authentic book. The signature page is not original to that book. The signature itself is authentic and beautiful and stunning and really valuable by itself, but it's not an original Strath Blane signed book. You guys have heard me talk about Adam from the Harry Potter Specialist. He runs the only J.K. Rowling authentication service that the Potter collector myself approves of. He's a great collector, has a great knowledge of Harry Potter books and J.K. Rowling's signature. So I contacted him and said, hey, what can we do? Do you know the person who sold this book to this collector? Are they trustworthy? Will they work with him to get his money back? He said, absolutely, he's a very trustworthy seller. I'll give him a call. So between Adam and myself, we were able to get this collector's money back. So he sent the book back to the dealer. And then I found out later that that dealer had purchased it from the dealer who was trying to sell it back in 2015 as a 1st printing. So the exact name came up. So we knew there was a direct line from this person. So that dealer who the collector purchased it from was able to get his money back with that evidence. So it's kind of a crazy story, and I don't know if you followed it or if it made sense. Hopefully it did. But I want you guys to just remember this signature in your head. So if this shows up, if it's suddenly in a 5th printing again, it's still not an authentic Strath Blane signed book. It's kind of like a Frankenstein's monster book, because the signature page was taken out, put in a bunch of different books, taken out again, possibly put into the correct printing. I'm not sure if the wrappers will be original. The third printing book that the collector purchased did have the Strath Blane School stamp in it, which is kind of what made everyone kind of overlook the fact that it was a third printing. So it's very possible that original dealer still had the wrappers with the Strath Blane stamp on it and attached that to a third printing book. No one will ever know. But if you see this signature for sale anywhere inside of a fifth printing book or any other printing book, that particular book is kind of a Franken book, a Frankenstein's monster book. It's been pieced together. It's not original from the Strath Blane School reading that J.K. Rowling did back in 1997. Now, there's something that could be done. My hope is that the signature page would be removed from any book and framed and sold that way, because the signature itself is just perfection and super rare and super valuable in its own right. Easily a $5,000 signature, framed outside of a book. So that's a crazy story, a lot of talking, my apologies. But if you see this signature, again, available anywhere on the market, and it's inside of a book, it's not original, it's technically a fake Strath Blane signed book. So I mentioned earlier in the video that I knew of 3 Strath Blane signed books available or in collectors' collections. One was the one that sold in 2009, which then was, chopped up and put into a first printing. The second one that I knew of was this third printing copy that was purchased by this collector and the book in question that we've been talking about. And the third is the one in my collection. Now we know that the 2 books that I knew of outside of my book are one and the same and doesn't exist anymore. So this is the only one that I know of in a private collection or anywhere on the market, and it's not for sale anymore. It's staying in my collection. So I am grateful that the collector who wanted to purchase this decided to back out of the purchase, because with all the craziness, this copy, this Strath Blane signed book, became more rare. So it's staying in the Potter Collector collection for the time being. Now, I did an entire video about Strath Blane signed books, and when I actually received this one and opened it and unboxed it, that was years ago. Check the description down below if you would like to watch that video. I talk a little bit more about Strath Blane signed books. If you have any questions about Harry Potter or collecting, feel free to leave a comment down below. You can also join the Potter Collector community on Instagram at the Potter Collector, on Twitter, now known as X at Potter Collector, or on Discord. The official Potter Collector Discord is linked down below. Now it's time to like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, keep collecting. And constant vigilance, watch out for that signature. And if you find it, report it to either myself or to Adam, the Harry Potter specialist. Thank you so much for watching, and if you're new here, welcome. We cover all things Harry Potter on the Potter Collector channel, like books, merchandise reviews, unboxings, Wizarding World of Harry Potter videos, and more. If you would like to subscribe, you can click right here. You can also check out a previously posted video right around here. If you have any questions about Harry Potter, feel free to leave a comment down below. I am happy to help. But for now, I must go. We'll see you next time.
Whoa, where'd he go?